Hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S back in another video. Obviously, I'm back at with part 2 of my plans for empowering all possible Indigenous people from Australasia. When I made part 1, I was wondering if I actually included the whole of Australasia, so not just Australia, but New Zealand and the other parts of Australasia as a continent. So I dreamed to connect together like those groups, like Aborigines, Torres and Strait Pacific Islanders, or how you pronounce it, and Aborigines and Maoris, something like that. Anyway, so all the Indigenous people possibly from Australasia, and yeah, to connect them together, and also like allies, potential allies, like people of color, including mixed race people like myself, much like myself, as I jokingly call us. And nowadays, and over time, probably quite most of the Indigenous people from Australasia are probably mixed from generations because of certain things that happen in their history. But yeah, I hope to find out more about Indigenous Australasian culture or things like that over time, and listen to Indigenous people from Australasia. So anyway, I hope this helps to share by sharing ideas, and we can connect together, and people who are interested in working together can help by coming together and that sort of thing. So anyway, continuing on my list from part 1, hope some people out there, especially Indigenous Australasians or their supporters, will enjoy this video and these videos generally. So here goes. So as I say, this is continuing on from part 1, so please check out part 1 and look out for part 2 when it comes out, which hopefully I'll make on Friday, because I don't want to make too many videos too quickly, and I thought I'd just make a couple today when I think through the ideas. So number 11, I think it'd be really interesting to see if there's a way to empower Indigenous people from Australasia to make or create things, manufacture things, get into manufacturing and things like that, and sell things around the world, promoting their art, but also inventions and things like that, like creating inventions and all sorts of things that they could sell around the world. I imagine it would be very difficult to compete with places such as China or whatever, but maybe they could at least sell a few things that would empower themselves. But it'd be great to see them making things and designing things, and working together with Africans as well and other groups in terms of building things, as I say, making things, designing things, creating things, and that sort of thing. And also, as I say, inventors as well, and like learning to invest and all sorts of things like that. So I think it'd be great if they could be empowered in those sorts of things. And as I mentioned probably briefly in part 1, I think there probably are some like sort of STEM programs for Indigenous Australasians, but I think it'd be great if there was like focus to help them to do really well, even better in those areas, and again to like make things and invent things, create things and that sort of thing. Maybe even make their own movies and stuff like that, and like encourage them and support them in areas like YouTube and all sorts of areas where they could be empowered, and like hearing their voices and helping them to make their own movies and that sort of thing, like become producers and directors, and again inventors and designers and all sorts. Number 12, I think it'd be great to see like allies supporting Indigenous Australasians, but also like sharing their ideas, and also like mentors, for instance, businesses and business people, including like business people of color, like Black, Asian, mixed race, and even Native Americans and other and whatnot, supporting Indigenous Australasians as much as possible, like mentoring them and passing on their skills and knowledge, like so that Indigenous Australasians can learn about business, how to run a business, and that sort of thing a lot more, which will hopefully empower them financially and give them a voice, and like just mentors in different areas. So people who have done well in like STEM, science, tech, engineering, maths, whichever specific areas, could go and mentor Indigenous people as much as possible, but again pass on their knowledge and knowledges perhaps, and that sort of thing. Number 13, I think it'd be interesting to address some of the problems facing Indigenous people from Australasia, and I hope that those problems won't be insurmountable to take on. Number 14, on that note, I hope to help them solve such problems, and it would be great to see Indigenous people in the future like creating inventions to solve problems, and also creating scientific solutions to problems, and that sort of thing, just generally being empowered and finding solutions for for themselves and maybe even the rest of the world, and just generally being empowered as much as possible, and hopefully supported as much as possible by the rest of the world. Obviously, there's going to be some haters who aren't going to want to support them, but hopefully enough people from different backgrounds, as I say, people of colour, and just generally ethical people will hopefully want to support them, I'm sure. Or in my opinion, ethical people would want to support them as much as possible. Number 15, I think it'd be great to hear from Indigenous people from Australasia about their own personal opinions and views about what their aspirations are as well, and ambitions, and how to help them to achieve those, and maybe encourage them to aim higher and believe in themselves. Like historically, perhaps they haven't had the encouragement or belief, and as so many of their human rights have been denied, they perhaps haven't believed that they can work in STEM or create the businesses or things like that. So I think it'd be great to see them having those aspirations of working in the police or in the government, or in the police force, in law, or in the government, or as I mentioned in part one, I have these goals, like to see 10% of the politicians being Indigenous people in Australia, New Zealand, and all those surrounding islands or countries. And again, I think it'd be great if they had 10% of the property and land ownership or things like that, if at all possible. And just as much empowerment, as I say, as possible, and like also be supported in terms of their, as I say, to go into those fields like running their own business and things like that, which they might not believe they could do in the past. And also support them with things like ensuring they don't get into crime or smoke or drink, or certainly like not as to try and take on some of those addictions as much as possible. Not that I want to tell people what to do, but like encourage them to do the best they can in life because of these problems that are faced by the Indigenous communities, such as alcoholism and things like that. Number 16, I'd love to discuss, as ever, like what are the best ways. Other people might have ideas I haven't thought of. Again, like other people might have skill. Probably most people have got skills I don't have, to be fair. So they can use those skills to hopefully help Indigenous people. Unfortunately, I don't have that many skills. I'm just an ideas person. So, but yeah, people in business or whatever, and that sort of thing. Number 17, I forgot to mention in part 11. I knew there was something I forget. There's normally something I forget, but it'd be great to see dyslexic people and people with neurodiverse backgrounds like autistics, people with ADHD and other conditions, using our strengths to support Indigenous Australasians, like whether that's thinking outside the box, innovation, creativity, or whatever else, whatever ideas we can come up with or whatever to help them, and dyslexic people who have done well in their chosen field, like helping Indigenous people. And again, this might be like a first. I don't know if many people from Indigenous Australasian communities, I know they've probably got bigger problems to worry about, but I wonder how many know about diversity like autism, dyslexia, and A.D.H.D and things like that, and how many could be tested to see if they have those conditions. And also, again, to learn about the strengths of neurodiversity and how that could help Indigenous communities as well as other groups. So yeah, I think it'd be great to for Indigenous people of Australasia to learn about things like dyslexia and ADHD and autism and that sort of thing, neurodiversity, to put it simply. And again, like be tested to see how many have that condition, how many can use ideas and strengths that neurodiverse people have to benefit, and also like non-Indigenous Australasians, supporting them, as I say, like allies, hopefully with neurodiversity. Possibly like a lot of people with autism or dyslexia might understand what it's like to be treated differently because we're different and that sort of thing. Not that I have ADHD or autism or anything like that, perhaps, but I have dyslexia and dyspraxia myself, but that's why I'm interested in the field. Number 18, I think it'd be great to learn from positive things about Indigenous Australasian communities, like how they looked after nature historically, and positive things we can learn about their culture, and that sort of thing. 19, again, I'd love to see Indigenous Australasians in areas like software development, programming, coding, making their own apps, and all sorts of ways they can be empowered. And again, allies, perhaps teaching them, like people who have developed apps who want to help, hopefully by sharing, hopefully I'll learn to speak properly, but hopefully by sharing these ideas, other people will think, oh, that's an interesting idea, and I never thought about it, but they could think, I have these strengths, like building apps, or if they ran their own business, they could think that would be a great way to help Indigenous people. Number 20, I think those who are, I think people of colour, as I say, especially the global Black diaspora, It'd be great if they went to those who have run businesses or whatever, know what it takes, can share their knowledge, including to the younger people, so older people can teach, pass on their skills and knowledge to younger people. So I think that covers everything for now. And sorry if this video is a bit long, and hopefully you'll look out for part 3 on Friday, where I can think of a few ideas. Excuse me. As ever, I would love to hear what you think, and hopefully we can connect and really work together. I think by working together, as they say, teamwork makes the dream work. So I think by working together, we can really empower people. Anywho, I am out. Peace and love.